Okay, and we will go in this order. For the first question, we'll begin with Richard Bennett. And Penny, would you like to ask your question, please?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, guests. Concerned Women for America has 6 core values that we lobby, and 3 of those are going to be in my questions tonight. Education, national sovereignty, and religious freedom. So with that in mind, Mr. Bennett, will you fight to guarantee the right of parents to decide how to educate their children in public, private, or homeschooling? Please include your positions on tax credits, vouchers, charter schools, public schools in our current system.
Thank you very much for the question. I'm a staunch advocate for all choice in public school, private school, parochial school, homeschool. In fact, the truth is that I've put my children through all 3. My wife and I started by homeschooling our children up until 3rd grade. We put them into the public school, and then now they're going to a private school. I think that elemental to being a parent, elemental is decisions about how your kids are educated. And for my wife and myself, we felt it was terribly important for us to not expose our children to the cultural influences that exist in a lot of school environments, and so we chose to homeschool them at the beginning of their education. And then when they reached a certain age, and we felt that their values were set and intact, and they had the core, we decided to put them in the public school. And then thereafter, as I said, they're now in a private school, and I'm fortunate because, frankly, I make enough money so that they can go to private school. A lot of people don't. They ought to have those choices. They're paying tax money. They ought to be able to put that tax money, in my view, to any accredited school that they wish, and let their kids get the education the parents decide is appropriate. Did I answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Thanks.
Poliquin, please.
Thank you very much. This is on. Good. There's nothing more fundamental, in my opinion, than a great education, the best education for the child. It's not about the unions. It's not about the principal or the administrators. It's not about the teachers. It's about the kids. I have one son, Sam. He's 21. I absolutely adore him. We're very, very close. And I happen to think there are only 3 things you can give a child in his or her life. Number 1, a sound moral compass. Secondly, unconditional love. And thirdly, the best education possible. Now, we've been doing some great things in Augusta. And I happen to be very strongly that government is best when it's limited and closest to home. So if we have an opportunity to homeschool our kids, or kids having choice, so they can move from one school to another and takes tax dollars with them. You know, up until a few months ago, the state of Maine was only one of 10 states in this country where you didn't have charter schools allowed because the unions lobbied the legislators, the majority legislators, and prevented that from happening. We now have charter schools for the first time in the state of Maine. So if we have a family where you have a child that's tremendously gifted or has an acute interest in agriculture or the sciences, they will now be able to go to a school that specializes in that. That's not about the unions. That's not about the administrators. It's not about the teachers. It's about the child. I firmly believe that we must do everything we can to give parents the flexibility to have their kids educated the best way they should. My son was young when he was going from elementary school to middle school, so we took a year off and he was homeschooled. Not by me. My goodness, I couldn't do that. But he was homeschooled. And he did some tremendous things that he was unable to do and grew with that experience. So yes, we need to give kids choice and the parents the power to make that choice.
Debra Plowman, please.
Thank you for the question. And I I'd like to acknowledge Senator Garrett Mason, who actually got that bill passed for us now that we have charter schools. This past year, we have debated some of these very issues in the Maine Senate and the Maine House, including vouchers, tax credits, and it's amazing how much resistance there is. And it comes from people who every day will tell you they're in it for the children. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure. First of all, the responsibility and the delegation of that responsibility to raise a child is very important to me. And that delegation comes along to you when that child arrives. Our job is to make sure that there is a choice. And I grew up in Lewiston, and I went to 12 years of Catholic school. We weren't wealthy. We didn't have to be, because before 1981, the legislature saw great value in supporting private schools. And in return, we took a huge load off of the city of Lewiston as we went forward. We got great education. In Glenburg, they used to have school choice. They could figure out where they could send their children until there was a great thing called school consolidation. And every string that we have attached takes more and more choice away from our parents. I believe that the sovereign right to make the decisions for your children are given to you, and you have a duty to do right by them. I would prefer that there were vouchers, tax credits, because it is almost social cleansing in its finest form to say, if you're poor, you take what's given to you. But if you have means, you can take advantage of those things. That's not our country. And I don't believe that we should be continuing down that vein, and I'm very proud of what we've done in the legislature to move that along, and we need to do more. Thank you.
Well, I look at this in two different ways. One, the Department of Education is unconstitutional. They're destroying how our children are actually educated in this country. It needs to go back. We need to follow the 10th Amendment and allow states to be able to control the education and actually go even further and let the towns and the communities be able to educate. But more importantly, it falls under the parents. This is the last year that my wife and I are allowing our children to go to public school. We have already discussed that we are homeschooling. We were just recently down in Rockland to the homeschooling statewide seminar. We have a lot of friends who homeschool their children, and that's why we're taking our children out. We're taking them out for a couple of reasons. My daughter's 7th grade teacher thinks that communism is okay, and she has no problem telling the students this. It's not the curriculum, but she still has no problem telling us. My son is a freshman in high school and knows more about civics than a 25 years tenured civics teacher. These are the problems we have. I believe that parents have a right to send their child to any school in which they choose, and that the money should follow the child from kindergarten to college all the way through. There's another thing on the floor of the House that has been put off and put off and put off on votes, but they've been trying to get it passed, is that the student loan debt, that if the government can take over that and take care of it for you, the one thing that they want to do, if the colleges agree to do that and the students agree to do that, is that the government has the right to teach the curriculum at the college. Therefore, all your Christian-based schools will not have the right to teach about life and marriage and other things. Thank you.
May I follow up with one quick question?
Yes.
Moderator?
You may.
Thank you. Would you vote to abolish the Department of Education?
I already answered that one.
Just a yes.
I frankly haven't decided yet. My view is that everything should be on the chopping block because our deficits are too high. And so from that vantage point, I certainly would consider it.
I would consider that. However, as a United States Senator, I want to make sure I get all the information to make the best decision I can possibly make, and with one thing in mind when it comes to education, which is the kids. I do know, and I'm a very strong believer in the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, states' rights, and what the people and the states can't do. Only then does the federal government get involved. So I'd look at that very closely. I have not examined it as closely as I'd like to give you an answer right now.
I would most likely vote to abolish it. The education is a local issue. I don't believe it has helped us in any way, shape, or form. It sucks up a lot of money that should be going to children. And that's where the money's supposed to be going. And if they're not going to send us with their mandates, send the money, then they should not be sitting up there making these kind of requirements of us. Thank you for the question.